I would love to play.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people are the people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew.
Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or ask the graying bobcat why he grins? You can sing with all the colors of the mountain. You can paint with all the colors of the wind. You can paint with all the colors of the wind. Run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sweet berries of the earth. Come roll in all the riches all around you, and for once never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends, and we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a loop that never ends. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or let the eagle tell you where he's been? You can sing with all the voices of the mountain. You can paint with all the colors of the wind. You can paint with all the colors of the wind. How high will a sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. And you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon. For whether we are white or copper skin, you need to sing with all the voices of the mountain. Need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Reverend Cheryl Myers, and it is my joy to welcome you here to our Sunday celebration here at Unity of Gaithersburg. We welcome all the folks that are tuning in on our YouTube channel this morning. We give a special thanks to our AV team this morning, to Namaste Band, and to the staff that are here that keep the wheels moving here in the actual space here at Unity of Gaithersburg, and we are just so excited. I know I am so excited that this time next Sunday, we're going to be outside, and we're going to be able to look you face to face, even with a mask on, and that's going to be so sweet. And you'll hear more about that in our transformational opportunities. But in that joy and anticipation, let's take a deep breath and officially begin our time together in prayer. So wherever you are this morning, Just settle in to wherever you're seated. And as you take that deep breath, you are informing your body and your mind that you are here to be fully present, fully available to the experience, the heart connection, the joy, the peace of spiritual community. And what we know, that even though we're not meeting here in person, that we have that connection because there is no separation in the oneness we share. And so we breathe into a heart of gratitude for the beloved spiritual community that brings us together. How grateful we are. And so it is. Amen. And so now Edie Crane will come up and share some transformational opportunities with us. Come on up, Edie.
Good morning. This week's transformational opportunities are also detailed in our community newsletter. Receive next week's edition by sharing your email with us. Our fall book study on Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth is coming up this Tuesday. Rev Cheryl and Edie Crane will co-facilitate this Zoom class on Tuesday nights, starting October 6th through November 17th, from 7:15 until 8 p.m. So 9 p.m., excuse me. SCE elective credit is available. Email our admin office, admin@unityofgaithersburg.org, to sign up and receive the link. This is going to be an expansive and deepening exploration together. Do you want to see this community grow and prosper? Yes. Of course you do. Do you have talents and skills to share that will support that unfolding? Then consider serving on our board of trustees. If you would like to find out more, plan to attend an informational meeting on Thursday, October 8th at 7 p.m. on Zoom, or Sunday, October 11th, right after the outdoor service. It is a way to serve that will truly bless and deepen you spiritually. Please email admin@unityofgaithersburg.org to register for either one of these informational meetings. There will be an outdoor service on Sunday, October 11th. Woohoo! Wear your mask, bring your own chair, and observe at least 6 feet of physical distancing for a joy-filled, connecting Sunday service in the backyard of Unity of Gaithersburg. To attend, you will need to reserve a spot. Email our admin office to let us know that you and your family members are attending. For safety precautions, we need to know the names of everyone who will be joining us. If you would like to attend, but would like to stay in your car, that is an option as well. The sound will be sufficient for everyone to hear the service. Rain date is October 18th. We look forward to being with you on this very special day of coming together in community once again on our beautiful campus. Join our outdoor drumming circle happening Friday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. Join Jeff Halverson and Neil Peacock as we revel in the crisp fall air and drum around the fire. Bring your drum or use the instruments provided. Pre-registration is required for this event. Email admin@unityofgaithersburg.org or click on the link in our newsletter or website. Masks must be worn. Suggested offering is $10, and the rain date is Friday, October 30th. See you there. And remember our other Zoom happenings during this time of no in-person activities. Experience a midweek spiritual boost as Rev Cheryl leads a Wednesday morning meditation at 9 a.m. Hump Day Happy Hour is each Wednesday afternoon from 5 to 6 p.m. To join these events, email admin@unityofgaithersburg.org to receive the link, or click going on the event on our Facebook page. See you soon. And now, please center yourselves as we reflect together on today's daily word. Our focus, new world. Our affirmation, viewing life through the lens of my true nature, I discover a whole new world. When I look at life through a lens of peace, joy, and love, I welcome a whole new world of self-discovery. To get to a point of continuous awareness, I take time each day to be in stillness and reflection. In prayer and meditation, I tap into infinite source within, like an artist might dip a brush into a fresh palette of paint. I color the canvas of life with ideas, words, and deeds that reflect the truth of my loving and abundant nature. From this practice of daily reflection, I become deeply aware of the divinity of myself and others. I hold thoughts of oneness, speak words of compassion, and demonstrate generosity and kindness to everyone. I let go and move out of fear without struggle. Viewing life through the lens of my true nature, I discover a whole new world. And from Revelation 21:5, behold, I am making all things new. And now, let us prepare for meditation by singing All Is Well.
So let us take a deep breath this morning, settling back into that space of stillness and receptivity. And let us begin to just follow the gentle movement of our breath, like we do each Sunday morning, using the greatest tool that we have to center ourselves in the moment, our breath. And so we follow that gentle flow of the breath moving in and out as a way to shift our attention away from the busyness of the mind and any sensations in the body. And just notice if there is any difficulty following that simple movement and flow of the breath. If it's challenging not to think about all there is to do today or what might be happening in our physical body. And so with gentleness and compassion, we just shift that focus to the breath, away from that busyness and distraction. And so as we breathe and we increase our present moment awareness, I just invite you to do a little experience this morning. I just invite you to, as you breathe, begin to witness your thoughts. The mind is always thinking. And so to try to stop the mind from thinking is a futile exercise. But what we can do in present moment awareness is begin to watch the thoughts as a witness. So just see if you can simply become an observer, watching your thoughts go by like clouds in the sky. Just watch, just observe. Watch this thought go by, another thought go by. And just notice your experience as you become the observer. Notice if your thoughts have the same intensity of distraction. Notice as you give them space, if they have the same power or pull to distract you. And now let's take it deeper and begin to observe yourself, observing your thoughts. Create even more space from your thoughts by becoming the observer of you being the observer. And as we move now into a time of silence, I invite you to continue this practice of being the witness, witnessing yourself, witnessing your thoughts. And notice your experience and relationship to your thoughts in the silence. We have the ability to transcend our thoughts. We have the ability to live in present moment awareness, not being ruled by the busy mind, but instead living open and receptive to the movement of the infinite wisdom within that now has space to move, has space to inform. The joy in our hearts has room to express. The peace of our being has space. As we transcend the attachment to our thoughts, so let's just take a deep breath together. And let's just see if we can maintain this space of being the witness for the duration of this time together and for the duration of this day. Living in conscious, present moment awareness. So one more deep breath. And so it is. Amen.
Knowing all is day we arrived on the planet, blinking stepped into the sun. There's more to see than can ever be seen, more to do than can ever be done. Some say eat or be eaten, and some say live and let live. But all are agreed as they join the stampede, you should never take more than you give. It's a circle of life, and it moves us all through despair and hope, through faith and love, till we find our place on the path unwinding, yeah, yeah, in the circle of life. Some of us fall by the wayside, some of us soar to the stars, some of us sail without trouble, then some have to live with the scars. There's far too much to take in here, more to find than can ever be found. With the sun rolling high through the sapphire sky, keeps great and small on this endless round. The circle of life, it's a wheel of fortune, it's a leap of faith, it's a band of hope, till we find our place on the path unwinding, yeah, on the circle of life. It's the wheel of fortune, it's a leap of faith, it's a band of hope, till we find our place on the path unwinding, yeah, yeah, in the circle of life.
Thank you, Namaste, Van. Well, God was talking to one of his angels and says, "Do you know what I have just done? I have just created a 24-hour period of alternating light and darkness on earth. I think that is very good. Don't you?" And the angel says, "Yes, but what will you do now?" And God says, "I think I'll call it a day." You're going to miss this. I know you are. So this is the Sunday that we lay the groundwork for the next 7 weeks of exploring Eckhart Tolle's book, A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. I'm so excited about this book study. This book is one that probably you might have studied back in 2006. I know that I did. And it's obviously been on my bookshelf for several years, but it has been calling to me. And it literally pretty much jumped off the shelf to bring forward right now, because as I started reading it, I thought, is this ever something that we could use right now? It's just perfect. So if you've read it before, yay, because you're not in the same place as you were the last time that you read it. So I encourage you to take it off your shelf, dust it off, and join us. If you've never read it, well, then this is new for you, new and fresh. But I do think it holds timeless wisdom for us. So as part of this foundation building, I wanted to explore and share about Eckhart Tolle's life. I've never really heard the story of his life. I know that he had a very transformative experience that had him write his works. But I felt like it would be really important just to learn about him a little bit so that we can understand his perspective. So he was born Ulrich Leonard Tolle into a German Catholic family in 1948. His early childhood in Germany was described as not very happy. Apparently, his parents fought constantly, and they eventually separated. To him, school was really at that time a very hostile environment. He didn't feel at home at school. And he also experienced a lot of fear and anxiety growing up in post-war Germany, where he would play in bombed out buildings. So when he was 13, he went to live with his father, where he was not required to attend public school. And instead, he chose to study literature, astronomy, and various languages at home. So at the age of 15, he read several books written by the German mystic known as Bo-Yen Ra. They impacted him very deeply. At the age of 19, he said he began to experience very deep depression, anxiety, and fear. He started this quest for answers. In his early 20s, this search led to studying philosophy and psychology and literature at the University of London. And after graduating, he was offered a scholarship to do doctoral research at Cambridge, which he pursued. But one night, at the age of 29, he awakened from his sleep, suffering from deep feelings of depression that he said were almost unbearable. But then he experienced a life-changing epiphany. Recounting the experience, this is what he says in his own words. I couldn't live with myself any longer. And in this, a question arose without an answer. Who is the I that cannot live with the self? What is the self? He goes on, I felt drawn into a void. I didn't know at the time that what really happened was the mind-made self with its heaviness, its problems that lives between the unsatisfying past and the fearful future completely collapsed. It dissolved. And the next morning, he said, I woke up and everything was incredibly peaceful. The peace was there because there was no self. Can you imagine? Just a sense of presence or beingness, just observing and watching. He recalls going out for a walk in London the next morning and finding that everything was miraculous, deeply peaceful, even the traffic. This feeling continued, and he began to feel a strong underlying sense of peace in any situation he encountered. He stopped studying for his doctorate, and for a period of about 2 years, he spent much of his time just sitting. He said, in a state of deep bliss. He sat on park benches in central London, watching the world go by. He would stay with friends or in a Buddhist monastery, or sometimes just slept outside. His family thought he was irresponsible and insane. And he changed his first name from Ulrich to Eckhart. Some say this was in recognition of his admiration of the philosopher and mystic Meister Eckhart. So this is the gist of the background of the author, which I feel it supports us in understanding his perspective and his writings more fully, his whole process. One of the things I have heard Eckhart say is that in his whole process, he learned that in order to feel peace and have that essential awareness that accesses our true essence, that we need to transcend the intellect. And can you imagine from his very learned background, that must have been difficult. But what he came to realize is that the most significant thing that can happen to a human being is when we can begin the separation process of thinking and awareness. What that means is that we need to be aware of what the mind is saying. We need to transcend the mind in order to have awareness of the space of our thoughts and to realize that we are not our thought processes. You know, I don't think that we walk around on a day-to-day basis saying, I am my thought processes. But when we think about and we reflect on our actions, we act in response to our thoughts, right? We act in response to our beliefs, our conditioning. This is all thought forms. And he said, until we become aware of our conditioned thought process, we think those thought processes are what is true about us and the world. Our thoughts, our beliefs, our assumptions, of course, are always right. We want to be right, and we'll stand by them no matter what. And this is what Eckhart calls the egoic consciousness. The ego always identifies with form. Thought form, physical form, emotional form, which results in total unawareness of our connectedness to the whole. The ego always creates an other. There's no recognition of oneness with each other and the source. And this forgetfulness is what the Christian tradition calls sin, the Buddhist tradition calls suffering, and the Hindu tradition calls delusion. And Eckhart calls it, this is our collective madness. We are definitely seeing where holding steadfast in egoic consciousness is getting us right now, aren't we? I think that's an understatement. I think it's accurate to call it madness. However, I'm assured by what Eckhart says. He says, the ego and all its structures are destined to dissolve. They will disintegrate from within. But what that's going to take from us is to, first and foremost, we have to acknowledge and become aware of our dysfunction as a collective. We have to be aware of our madness. And he says, fear, greed, and the desire for power are not the dysfunction we're speaking of here. It goes deeper than that. See, those are simply manifestations created by the dysfunction. The deeper cause is in the mind of each human being. What we're being called, folks, to create right now is a transformation that goes deeper than the content of our mind, deeper than our thoughts. And this transformation is a shift in consciousness that at its core lies the actual transcendence of thought. See, we have the ability to transcend our thoughts and realize a dimension within ourselves that's expansive and way beyond them. And see, from that expansion, we no longer derive the sense of who we are from that non-stop stream of thinking we have believed to be our identity. Can you imagine the freedom that comes with no longer associating with that constant, incessant voice in your head? And you know that voice I'm talking about, right? To be who you are. But then you might ask, well, if I'm not that, then who am I? And so what he wants us to learn is that who we are the witness. We are the one that sees this. What happens then is there's an awareness of the space prior to the thought and in the midst of the thought. And from that, there's an instant separation from our thought. We're no longer identified with it as who we are. This is how we awaken, because we get conscious. We see our thoughts for what they are, their thought forms. We see how attached we are to our thoughts. We become aware of our true identity, our true essence. That is the transformation. And see, from that awareness, the ego is no longer in the driver's seat, folks, making choices for us. We can then make conscious choices from an awareness of our connection to everything, to everyone, from love and peace, from our true nature. And this shift in the minds of humans has the ability to transform our world. I'm going to say that again. This shift in the minds of you, of me, of humankind has the ability to transform our world. So the story, Eckhart says, of the inspiration for this book, A New Earth, came from Bible prophecy, from the Old and the New Testament, that talks about the collapse of the existing world order and the arising of a new heaven and a new earth. So from Isaiah 65, "For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered or come to mind, but be glad and rejoice forever in what I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem as a rejoicing, and her people a joy. I will rejoice and joy in my people. The voice of weeping shall no longer be heard, nor the voice of crying." And from the New Testament, Revelation 21, this is the condensed version. "Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, sorrow, or crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away. Behold, I make all things new." And so, okay, going back to our metaphysics, what we know is that heaven is not a location, that it's a state of consciousness, right? You know, Jesus declared the kingdom of heaven is at hand, because the kingdom of heaven is a consciousness within us that knows truth, that recognizes wholeness, that is our true identity. And earth is the outer manifestation in form that reflects our state of consciousness. Eckhart says, "A new heaven is the emergence of a transformed state of human consciousness, and a new earth is its reflection in the physical realm." But he also gives us a heads up. Since human life and human consciousness are intrinsically one with the life of our planet, as the old consciousness dissolves, there are bound to be synchronistic, geographic, and climactic natural upheavals in many parts of the planet, some of which we are witnessing now. And that was back in 2006. Imagine if he could see 2020. So in metaphysics, this is what we call chemicalization, folks, and we're seeing it. We're living it right now. So we are in that process of letting go of the old to bring in the new heaven and the new earth. So here are some questions we get to ask ourselves as we enter into this exploration. These are the questions that Eckhart asked in the beginning of the book. And just notice what your response is to these questions. Is humanity ready for a transformation of consciousness, an inner flowering that is radical and profound? Are you ready for a transformation of consciousness, an inner flowering that is radical and profound? Second question, can human beings lose the density of their conditioned mind and become transparent to the light of consciousness? And the third question, can we defy the pull of materiality and rise above identification with form that keeps the ego in place and keeps us from being aware of and expressing our imprisoned splendor? Think we can do it? Can we? What's your response to these questions? Are we ready? Ready? Are you ready? I believe we are. I think it's time for a new earth. It's time for us to have a profound shift in consciousness. And I just invite us all to step in and be an active part of that unfolding. So here's some exercises for this week. Eckhart Tolle talks about the power of nature to connect us with the world beyond form. So I just invite you this week to spend some time in nature. Look at it through the lens of a child with newness, a fresh perspective of delight. Look at a fall mum or a turning leaf. See if you can be with what you see without naming it, but simply be with it. Pretend you don't know what it is. Be in childlike awe and wonder and notice your experience, just like Edie's granddaughter does. Notice the voice in your head. Just notice it. Try to step back and witness it and what it's saying. Notice yourself noticing. And we'll do more with this later. And I invite you to join us, join Edie and I on Tuesday nights for our 7-week delve into this work. You'll be joining a group of like-minded partners on the journey. It promises to be expansive and deepening for sure. So let's affirm together. I envision a new heaven and a new earth unfolding. I declare my intention to be an active part of this transformation of consciousness. And so it is.
And now, this is our time to give from our unlimited abundance and open hearts. Thank you for going to our website or our newsletter to give your gifts online. And you can also text to give. Here is Prosperity Wisdom reminder from Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth. There is a new world awaiting you, a new level of life that can open to you. Discover the wonder of giving. It is the key that opens the door to the good you have been seeking, that gives life that added glow. It will be one of the great discoveries of your life. As we each give online, we affirm this offering blessing. Divine love, I am, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And I am so grateful. And so it is.
From fear to faith, when we gather together to pray for the healing of this world, and the dawning of a brand new day. We move from fear to faith. We move from fear to faith. When we gather together to pray for the healing of this world and the dawning of a brighter day. We move, yes we move, yeah we move, you know we move, yeah we move, you know we move from fear to faith. From fear to faith. When we gather together to pray for the healing of this world and the dawning of a brighter day. We move, yeah, we move, yeah we move. We move, yeah we move, we move, yeah we move, we're the faith.
Was awesome. So wherever you are, let's join together and sing our peace song.
Not this that was meant to be.
Have a beautiful week observing your thoughts, and we'll see you on Tuesday night. Blessings.
We move from fear to faith when we gather together to pray for the healing of this world and the dawning of a brighter day. We move from fear to faith. We move from fear to faith when we gather together to pray for the healing of this world and the dawning of a brighter day. We move, yes we move, we move, yes we move, we move from fear, we move from fear, yes we move from fear to faith.